Raphael Tuju lost property worth billions of shillings, and he lost the case in High Court. And he had lawyers, competent lawyers, some of the best lawyers that you can have in this country. They went and argued the case for him in High Court. But Raphael Tuju ended up losing property worth billions of shillings. I am making this video to address the concerns of those people who are telling me that I lost my case because I did not have a lawyer. Lawyers can be bought. And if lawyers cannot be bought, judges can be bought. So having lawyers is not a guarantee that you will win a case in court when your property has been auctioned. You can have some of the most competent lawyers, like the way Raphael Tuju had them, and you go to High Court and judges can be compromised and your case can be lost. Do you know what happened to Raphael Tuju? Raphael Tuju, when he went to High Court, he tried to prevent the sale of his property in Karen. Right? I know you followed that case, and so I don't want to repeat it. He tried to ask the court to protect his property from being sold. But what happened? The High Court cleared the path for auctioneers to sell the property. Now, somebody can ask me, in my previous video, I made allegations of corruption, which I'm not sure, but I believe it happens, and I talked about how judiciary is a den of corruption. Now, am I insinuating that there is corruption in High Court? Yes, there have been allegations of corruption in High Court. If people lend you billions of shillings and they have billions of shillings and they go to High Court and they can buy judges, they can defeat you. They can defeat you, bro. This thing, you have to start learning it from other people. Don't wait to learn it on yourself. I am making this kind of videos so that you can learn early. For my case, it was a very simple case involving a few million shillings. Now, for the case of Raphael Tuju, there are billions of shillings in High Court. In the East African Development Bank was the one claiming that money. That is a bank that has billions. That bank is claiming money from Raphael Tuju, and his property in Karen is acting as security. And so they want that property and they have more billions. You know, Raphael Tuju is now in financial problems. He doesn't have the billions to buy judges and all that. But the bank has the capability of doing that. I'm not saying they did that, but they had the capability to do that. And I'm telling you that judges in High Court can be bought, and they have been bought before. Even the Law Society of Kenya, by the way, there was a time the Law Society of Kenya, lawyers protested even in court because some judges were receiving bribes in High Court. In High Court, there were judges that were receiving bribes to twist the outcome of cases. Even those that appeared genuine. They bring a judgment and the judgment is against you. So it means High Court is also a business. It's a system where you can buy justice, okay? There were several other cases. I just don't want to name them because the video will be too long. There have been several other cases in High Court proving that judges in High Court can be bought. And so, can judges even in Supreme Court be bought? Yes. Yes. And it doesn't matter whether you have a lawyer or you don't have a lawyer. If you have a lawyer and you go to court and you don't have money to buy a judge, and the person you are accusing or the person who is accusing you has more money to buy a judge, they will buy that judge and you will not have justice. Understand the legal justice system, the way it is structured in this country, before you experience it. Learn it from some people like us and Raphael Tuju. So the person who is telling me that my case was thrown out because I did not know how to argue it, you don't know what you are saying. You are insinuating that I don't have a brain. You are insinuating that I don't know how to read the Constitution and understand the mandate of the auctioneer and the mandate of the auctioneer's licensing board and their duties in regards to the actions of the auctioneer. I can read that and I can understand it very well. I don't need a lawyer to argue out such a case. I went and argued out that case just the way a lawyer would argue the same case. And if I had a lawyer and I don't have the capability of playing around, you see, the outcome would still be the same. You see, so this case is not limited to me and small millions of shillings and my inability to afford a lawyer. No. I understand that the legal justice system is corrupt, and if you are not the one who is in court trying to argue out your case can be twisted and you may not understand. You see, for my case, for example, I know it inside out. I know the evidence I presented, and I knew the outcome of this case. I knew the judgment that was supposed to come out of this case because I had the evidence. And that is the same case with Raphael Tuju. He lost the case. The High Court continued clearing the path for auctioneers, and they went away with his property. So you who is looking at me right now on this screen, do not wait until auctioneers come for your things, because the moment they land on your things like this, you may never manage to succeed while navigating that system. It's a very terrible system. And then I had somebody tell me that, Gideon, you can still go and appeal that decision and they can listen to you. Bro, I have seen people who have gone to court and they have tried to appeal such decisions and they have been thrown out. You know, I have learned from Raphael Tuju. The case of Raphael Tuju, I'm using it a lot because it is very similar to mine. I remember, I was following that case of Raphael Tuju, by the way. Raphael Tuju repeatedly went back to court, and he did not just go to court. I said he had lawyers, okay? And he included even DCIs. Raphael Tuju had enough money to get DCIs to do the job. And he had new evidence to prove that this case was not supposed to end up the way it ended up. The case was not supposed to end up with auctioning the property, okay? And all the evidence, the DCI information that he got, it was supposed to support the case to return his property. But, there's something called, I think it's res judicata or what? Res judicata simply means that this case was heard somewhere else and there was conclusion of that case, and therefore we cannot listen to that case. Now what this simply means is that if another competent court had that case and it came up with a conclusive evidence of the case, it therefore means that this other court cannot listen to it because this court considers that court to be competent, right? And I think the case of Raphael Tuju was somehow justified. The courts were somehow justified, not very justified, but somehow justified, because the matter of Raphael Tuju was repeatedly heard in courts, and Tuju was going back to the same court with new evidence, and then the court kept throwing out his applications because of what I told you about res judicata. I think lawyers can know what that means, that the case was heard and it was already determined, and therefore your property has to be sold. But for my case now, it's very different from Raphael Tuju's case. Res judicata is in a court listening to another court. For my case now, it was a body mandated to license and discipline. A court is not mandated to license and discipline. The court is just supposed to listen and then determine if the judgment debtor has a debt, and then determine the amount that is supposed to be paid, and then enforce the way it is supposed to be paid, right? That is what is supposed to be done. But then a board is a separate entity. It is supposed to oversee the actions of the auctioneer. So you see, in my case, it was even worse. It was even worse because I am going to a relevant body that is supposed to discipline. But for the case of Raphael Tuju now, he is going back to the case. And Raphael Tuju's case was justified, but the courts kept throwing it away. If you look at the evidence that Raphael Tuju was presenting, and people understood Raphael Tuju very late because people are saying that Raphael Tuju was not paying debts. And some people can say that I was also not paying debts. That is what they will say. They will say that if you have a debt, pay it. Don't start disturbing people. We have money to pay. You have money to pay. But the people who gave you money inflated the money until you can't pay. Now a person like Raphael Tuju, you are given millions of shillings. I think it was 900 million. I'm not very sure. But now the amount he's supposed to pay is 2 billion. That amount ballooned, just the way mine ballooned. Mine ballooned from 600,000 to nearly 3 million. How do you pay 3 million? And this 3 million is ballooning. It is the same case with Raphael Tuju's 900 million, which has gone to 2 billion. How do you pay that amount? And so when this case comes to the public, you hear people say, you don't want to pay loans, pay your debts. No, we want to pay these debts, but the way these debts are structured, you cannot pay them. And so you start understanding something we call predatory lending. Predatory lending. Predatory lending, someone comes up with a company to lend money, but the main objective is not to lend you money. The main objective is to take your property. Like, for example, they can look at you and you have a car, and then they advertise, we are giving logbook loans, or maybe you have land, or maybe you are a civil servant, and they say we are giving civil servant loans, we are giving, you can bring your title deed, you can bring your pay slip, just anything of value, bring it to us and we will give you money. at a very high interest rate, knowing very well that you may fail to pay. And then they will come for your property. They will come for your land. They will come for your car. They will come for anything. And you will go down. I'm telling you. And if you are watching me in this video, do not think that you are very wise. That you cannot face financial problems. Financial problems are real. Sometimes you can be sick and you spend a lot of money in the hospital. Sometimes you can have income and it can go down. Sometimes you may have a business and it can go down. Nobody is immune to financial problems. We have seen billionaires having a lot of financial problems. We see paupers having financial problems. Financial problems are not limited to poor people. Financial problems are not limited to me, who is recording a video in the bush in a village in my ancestral land. Financial problems are not limited to a tribe, that this tribe faces financial problems. As long as you are alive and you are in this system of money, you will at some point experience financial problems. Like for my case, I was doing so well, making a lot of money from writing. Then artificial intelligence came. Then your income reduces by more than 300,000 shillings. What do? You can now not pay debts, but you can satisfy a court decree, right? So you go to court and you argue out your case. I can settle this. I have financial problems, just like anybody else, but I can settle this amount that the court has decided that I can pay. But what do? They come for your property. And then what they need is that property, not the amount that you can pay. When you face a financial problem, that is when you understand that these people have no mercy. They will come for your property and they will sell it. So understand predatory lending. And all microfinance, I don't say some, all microfinance institutions are in the system of predatory lending. They are not out there to lend you money. They are out there to take your property. I want you to visit the yards where these people repossess cars, where they repossess land, I don't know if they keep title deeds, I don't know. Visit any office where they store property that has been repossessed from people. You will find a lot of property has been stored there. A lot of people out here have been auctioned. Some of them don't know what to do. Some of them lose their property and they keep quiet. Some of them don't know, what do I say? What do I even tell people? Someone maybe was bragging that I have a good car. Then they are auctioned. Now what do? Sometimes they keep quiet out of shame. But some of us who are very free to talk, we come out in the open. We say that it was done in an unfair manner. And we have argued out trying to protect this property of ours. And we cannot. That is the same case with Raphael Tuju. Raphael Tuju did not refuse to pay the loan. Raphael Tuju was ready to pay the loan. But the manner in which the money was given to him was in the form of predatory lending. And then when they came for his property, the courts always kept clearing path for auctioneers. And the auctioneers came and sold his property. So to end this video, I want to address that concern that someone has been telling me, that you did not have a lawyer, that if you had proper legal representation, that you would have gotten your property back, you just needed a good lawyer to file a case. Lawyers lose cases, bro. And as I have compared my case to that of Raphael Tuju, mine was self-representation. I was muted on Microsoft Teams. Then I had to travel physically to see what was happening. Then I said, I want to monitor this process. I want to study law and monitor this entire process to see how it works. I failed. For the case of Raphael Tuju, he used high-profile lawyers, competent lawyers who had studied law, and they understood that Raphael Tuju had been unfairly targeted. But in both cases, mine and that of Raphael Tuju, courts allowed. The legal justice system allowed the sale of the property. Now, did I say I have money to satisfy the court decree? Yes, I had the money to pay. Although they ambushed me, within 3 days, I had gotten the money. Now I'm asking them, can I redeem my property? They are not allowing. Raphael Tuju came and said, I have the money, I want to pay. Did they allow him to pay? No. Why? And this is why I'm finishing this video. The property is expensive. If they take the property, it is more beneficial than your money. Now you start understanding that it reaches a time when your money is useless and your property is important. Why do I say your property is important? When they are giving you a loan, they give you a loan lower than the value of your property. For example, if your property is valued at 1.2 million, they can give you a loan of 500,000. And when it comes to a point of auctioning, now they are salivating for the property, not your money. They don't need your money. Okay? Your property is always valuable. If you have land worth 1.5 million, it is pointless to take a loan of 300,000 against that land. You will find yourself in deep problems because your property is valuable. Protect your property. There is no way I can take a loan against my ancestral land. Had I been stupid like in the past, or maybe a fool, or maybe, I don't know the term I can use, or ignorant, or what? Had I been that ignorant, I would have used the title deed of my ancestral land to take a loan. But now I understand it very well. I cannot use my valuable property to take a loan. Now, if you are out there, you will be making a big mistake to use your property to take a loan. Some people have tried and they have ended up in very terrible situations. Do not end up in such situations. Guard your finances, guard your property, guard your peace of mind. Don't take an unnecessary loan if you don't want it. And by bad luck, if you take it, something may happen. Something may happen. You never know. There is nobody who is extremely protective of money. Disasters happen. Issues arise. Bro, there are some people who pretend like, now we are very wise, we are very wise financially. Come on, bro. Disasters are there. Sometimes you will experience a problem that you did not even anticipate. You think that you have everything figured out, and then something just arises, and you face a financial problem. Although that is not like for us and Raphael Tuju, who did not read terms and conditions sufficiently. Tuju fell into the trap of sharp boys. I think I fell into the trap of sharp boys who give you money and then the interest rate is unimaginable, okay? But for some of you, you can borrow some money and then face a financial problem. And then you find that your ancestral land is the collateral. What will you do? Don't take a loan against your property. Thank you for listening to me. This is Giddy Akali, and we shall meet again in another video. Peace.